What's going on, guys? I am working on my Cyclops bust for the LVO painting competition. So if you're going to the Las Vegas Open, I will be there. And if you want to see this bust, it'll be there as well. Hopefully, I'm trying to finish it in time. What I want to show you is how to work out a highlight using a dry brush and mixing your own paints and also adding some interest to the light. So what we got here is the Cyclops bust from Blackheart Miniatures, and I've been working on this for some time. And you can see I've tried to build up, he's not just dark green to light green. I'm trying to build up interest in both the shadows and the highlights. So as you can see, he reads as a green creature, but there's yellow in the skin tone. The shadows are also blue. There's also some blue highlight, like you can see right there. Hopefully you can see. It's a little bit of blue. You can see the yellow kind of down the back here. I still got to do these little horns. But basically I'm just trying to keep adding interest. So you can see a pretty close look there. And this is building up the contrast. It's building up the visual interest of the model. You know, hopefully from far away it pops. Hopefully when you get up close, it still looks pretty cool. I still got to do a few things like finish the eye. I'll put shadows in the white of the eye and finish all the iris and pupil and stuff. I got to work on the teeth a little bit, and I got to do these horns and also these little horns back here, which I actually honestly missed when I started these horns. So I'm going to have to bring them up to like small versions of those. And I'm probably glaze a little bit more in the ears. But anyway, I want to show you how I'm going to approach trying to mix a highlight color here. This is not planned. This is just what I would be doing, painting and having a good time. So we're going to try out Golden Olive from Vallejo Model Color. This right off the bat doesn't necessarily match what we got here, but it is a yellow green, so I think that's going to give us something fun to work with. Now this is just a piece of cardboard with a piece of packing tape on it to make the paint a little less absorbent. And that's totally not necessarily planned, but it's going to work out great for us for here on this video. Next one is Sybarite Green from Citadel Color. This one's kind of a teal. This one's going to be perfect, I think, but just in case we need to make it a little more green, we're going to do that. So we're going to add a little bit of that to the palette. Next one up is Gauze Blaster Green from Citadel. This one's like a baby blue with just a hint of green. So hopefully, I don't think we're going to need a lot of that if we do, but we'll put it out there. And last but not least, just in case, Ivory from Vallejo Model Color. So we got our paints on the palette there, which is a piece of packing tape on cardboard. And we're going to give our brush a rinse. And we're going to dry it off and start painting. So this is just going to be somebody exploring color, trying to build up interest, and hopefully not ruining their model before the LVO. So let's see what I can come up with here. So I know what I want to try first is, let's try to mix some of this green in. And we'll mix that up with a little bit of this Sybarite color. And right off the bat, I think that looks pretty cool. So let's just try to mix a little bit more of a pile. And that's not bad right there. Let's test it on my thumb. So that looks like it's probably, if you hold it up, it's not going to show up as a highlight, but just mixing that is pretty close to what we've worked with so far. And these aren't the colors I used on this. This has all just been mixing colors. And I can't honestly remember which greens I used, but that's okay because we're trying to keep it interesting. So let's add a little bit of this baby blue color. And we're going to actually test this color to see if this is a decent highlight color. And we're going to actually use a stippling motion, which we did on the last video with the skull. And we're going to try it right down here on this lower abdomen. No. I'm going to try to, oh, okay, yeah, so I can see it. Basically, I'm going to try to outline it a little bit and build up like a light. I think the light's going to be coming maybe in this direction. I kind of tried, you can see a little bit, there's a little bit of a shadow underneath. And I was trying to show that like his big chin here was casting a shadow on his chest. Whether or not that reads true, I don't know. But we're going to avoid that area. That way, if it does read true, it'll be a little more clear. So that's actually looking pretty good. And we'll just try to blend that out a little bit with some stippling motions. And let's try it on the chest here. And it does appear to look a little bit more intense on camera than it does in real life. Probably just because it's wet, so it's reflecting some light back at you. But that looks like we're building up a pretty cool interest here. We'll bring a little bit up there. Now let's hit the top of the cheek here, which I did leave in scales. And we're doing just kind of a dry brush, basically down his cheek. And we'll hit the side of his head. We'll try to hit just the center of that kind of sphere on the side of his head. Maybe a little bit on this wrinkle on the side of his face, and then just a little touch on that one down there. And away we go. So this is starting to look more interesting already. I can tell this spot here on the sphere got a little solid, but we'll be able to work that around. Now on the back here, we have kind of a yellow light coming over here. So at the end of that yellow light, we're going to put a blue light, this kind of color blue here. Just with a long sweeping dry brush. And we're kind of pulling it down and around like a curve. And we'll do back and forth a little bit just to build it up quicker for the camera. But yeah, so that actually shows up really nice. So now if you're looking at the model, you see some lights bouncing off of him. And then on the neck, you got kind of this green yellow into this kind of green blue, and then it gets kind of darker down here into a darker green blue. And just because we don't have any specific way to look at the model, we're going to continue that highlight, but just less of it on just that part there, just to pull it over. So all we're doing is trying to add, and we'll put a little bit on his cheek there, a little bit on that same sphere, a little bit on his cheek there. And there we go. So that's it, how we're going to do the first highlight. Now let's set him down for a second. I'm going to give my brush another rinse. And I'm wiping it off on a paper towel, which I have in my hand, but because it's so bright, I didn't want the white balance to be off, or, you know, less likely to be off on video. These brushes are the new Ghost dry brushes, and they will be available on Kickstarter January 17th. So if you want to get a set, definitely check out the Kickstarter, Ghost dry brushes. We ran a Kickstarter last year that was very successful, so you'll be able to pick up the brushes that were launched last year in addition to the new dry brushes, which I'm very, very excited to be able to ship out to you later this year. So they're very, very good as far as a dry brush goes. So if you're into dry brushing or want to start getting into it a little more, these are going to work out really great for you. So what we're going to do now is build up a different color here. And I think I'm going to do that by working with this olive green and a touch of this ivory. This is going to give us maybe a touch of that blue too. Kind of more of a yellow highlight again, a green yellow. And we're going to, you can take your brush and tap, 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 tap. That's how you check that you have your paint off the dry brush. You can check on your finger. And we're going to just use this to then go on to where we just did, to then again add almost like a yellow, potentially sunlight type color into it and help blend it in to the rest of the model. And looks like we need to mix a little bit more because that was a little weak. So let's just tap, 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 tap. This time we're just going to hit the center of the cheek there. Just a touch there, maybe one or two swipes there. Let's hit the top of this. Yeah, there we go. That's looking good. Now, kind of using a dry brush motion here, stippling, and we're just building up color back and forth, working on the lights. And basically what I'm trying to show you is it doesn't have to just be a simple dark green to light green. You can add blues and yellows and blue yellows and other colors. I mean, you could add some purples maybe. One thing that works really well, like, so red and green are contrast colors, so that's why his eyeball's going to be red. That's why his face has a lot of red in it, plus that makes it look like maybe there's blood flowing through him, give him like a little bit more lifelike feel. But when you're using green, because it has both blue and yellow, it can go either warm or cold, which is pretty unique to like a green and a purple. So you can kind of bounce it back and forth, right? If I'm using more of this color, it's more warm because that is more yellow. If I'm using more of these, they're more cool because they have more blue, and so on. So that gives you just something to play with, and you can kind of bounce back and forth. And what you're trying to do is build up like a patchwork, basically, if you can picture that. And the patchwork is alternating some warm and cool tones in the skin. And when your eyeball sees that, put a lot of the yellow back here on the top of his head. It's kind of yellow-green. When your eyeball sees that, it just blends it all together, and your eyes tend to like that. It doesn't look like just a value study. It looks like it maybe could be real or have a little more life to it, I guess. So that's how you would basically highlight a model like this with a dry brush. Now, I do plan on entering this in a competition, so I'm going to have to, paint all this black. I'm going to have to take, do something with this. I'll just paint it up, maybe put some texture on it or gloss, create like a nice stand. But what I wanted to show you is even with a dry brush on something you're trying really hard on for, say, display or a competition, you can get a lot of value out of it, and you're just treating it, slowly building up for fun, having a good time. That's what this is about, just having fun. And hopefully now that I've kind of blended in that more yellow tone, you can actually can't tell as much, except for right there. Feels like a little bit too heavy. Let's just stab at it and see what happens. Yeah, that's probably alright. But now those blue tones are kind of blended in again. And you can see a lot of interest. And I mean, you wouldn't look at this model and think these are the colors in there that are creating the highlight on that kind of green. The blue shadows are created with like Drakenhof Nightshade. So if you're looking to make some shadows for your blues, there are shadows for your greens. Try some blues. It's, can create some nice effects. And I'm going to build up this yellow a little more on his head while I have it on the brush. And if you notice, like, I haven't rinsed the brush except between mixes. The brush is still very soft. It can create, right now, it can create smooth blends. You could stipple. But right now I'm definitely using, there's barely any paint on the brush, and I'm just slowly pushing colors around. And just for fun, while we're here, let me rinse this off one more time. And let's just see how we like the ivory dry brushed on those horns. Because those horns still need a lot of work, and I'm not committed to what they look like right now anyway. Right now I'm going kind of dark to light was the plan, but I'm actually almost think maybe if I go light or dark up here to light down there, maybe better. But then again, the skin that's kind of holding the horns to his head is light, so I kind of like that contrast of dark and light there. So we're not sure, but let's take some of this ivory. The brush is kind of damp because of just rinsing it off. We'll use this napkin here, the cardboard, and we'll try and get the majority off. And I can tell right now I'm not going to like this just by looking at the cardboard color brown and the horn brown. But we're going to go ahead and hit it. And give it a little bit. This actually isn't too bad. We're going to go real light. We'll use more washes and stuff on this anyway. Actually thinking about busting out the oil paints on maybe just the horns. Maybe the skin, I don't know. Going real soft, little strokes. Still leaving it dark. And that kind of actually gave our horn a little bit of a blend. So actually it's not too bad. I kind of like it. And let's try one more. We're going to load up the brush again. And like I said, these horns aren't anywhere near done. This is just a little bonus here at the end to show you with just this little dry brush here the fun you could have painting some models in a relaxing way, just playing with a couple colors and, no stress about it. Not like the stress of trying to get your Kickstarter launched on time. Just kidding. But so let's just put a little highlight on the tip again. And hopefully, yeah, that's not too shabby. What we're doing is just hitting the horns. I think once we hit these horns with some more inks and stuff, that'll be pretty cool. And the dry brush is really nice on bones and stuff because it really gives you a nice texture to it. Whereas you don't have to worry so much about smooth blends if you're trying to capture the texture of an object. So hopefully you think that's pretty cool. I think it's coming out pretty good. Still got some ways to go. I got to work on the teeth and the eye, especially, but so far so good. So hopefully you like it. Please comment down below if you want to see me work on something else. I have this guy here who's also in the green scale, but which is just going to be fun. The Hulk here, shadows I'm building up with purples. And the Cyclops here, I'm building up the shadows with blues. So you'll be able to see the difference. And he should be done by LVO as well. I have a couple of weeks to work on him. So hopefully both of these guys will be at LVO and you can see my green blue and my green purple. And that should be a good time. Please, please subscribe. Check out the Ghost Dry Brush Kickstarter on Kickstarter January 17th. It's going to be so awesome. You guys are going to love these brushes. They're so cool. And it's just fun to actually play with, you know, these nice soft dry brushes and work on your dry brushing and your blends and, you know, everything you want. So make great models and have fun. Talk to you soon.